Welcome! This video provides an overview of the recent changes to emergency safety interventions, or ESIs, as outlined in 53G-8-301 and R277-608. These changes will all be in effect for the 2025-2026 school year. In January 2025, R277-608 passed the full board. This rule moved policy and implementation information regarding ESIs from R277-609 to R277-608, while also clarifying and adding policy and training requirements. It became effective on March 10, 2025. During the 2025 legislative session, SB 170, School Discipline Amendments was introduced and passed. This bill consolidated all code related to ESIs into 53G-8-301 and added policy, implementation, and reporting requirements. It became effective on May 7, 2025. In July, the USBE will release a model training that LEAs can use to fulfill the new Foundational Behavior Support Training requirement in R277-608. LEAs are also welcome to create their own training to fulfill this requirement. Between August and October, R277-608 will go back through the board approval process to align with the changes to 53G-8-301. So what exactly is an emergency safety intervention? As defined in 53G-8-301, ESIs are the use of seclusion or physical restraint when a student presents an immediate danger to self or others. This video will be discussing the changes to the use of physical restraint and seclusion. It's critical to understand the prohibited reasons for using ESIs. Physical restraint and seclusion cannot be used for disciplinary purposes. Furthermore, seclusion cannot be used as an intervention for coercion, retaliation, humiliation, due to inadequate staffing, or for staff convenience. The changes in code and rule related to ESIs fall into several key categories: definitions, policy, training and implementation, data collection and reporting, and violations. Let's delve into a little more detail on some of these changes. We'll start with the definitions. New definitions were added in R277-608 for several terms. The comprehensive ESI training was already required for certain personnel, but was defined for clarity. The definition for a foundational behavior support training was added as this is a new training requirement. The definitions for serious bodily injury and substantial bodily injury were both added because both of those terms were added to the definition of immediate danger. Some definitions were also changed in R277-608. The definition for chemical restraint now includes that its use is prohibited by USBE. The definition for functional behavior assessment was changed to align with changes that were made in Utah's special education rules. The definitions for immediate danger and mechanical restraint were adjusted to provide clarity. And lastly, the definition for seclusion was added into 53G-8-301, and changes were made to the definition that existed in R277-608. Next, let's cover the policy requirement changes. In 53G-8-301, specific written policies and procedures must be in place and implemented for an LEA to use seclusion. The changes in R277-608 now require the LEA policy to include required statements, a definition for key identified school employees, procedures to be followed for ESIs, a determination of whether the LEA will allow individual schools to designate an enclosed area for the sole purpose of seclusion, and information on other dangerous practices. Significant changes have also been made to training and implementation requirements. These include, first, a new training called the Foundational Behavior Support Training. This training is now required for all school employees who supervise students, or who may be asked to assist in managing a student's behavior. This training covers behavioral emotional crisis management, including de-escalation strategies consistent with the LRBI manual and LEA policies related to ESIs. In addition, LEAs must still provide key identified school employees comprehensive ESI training, a training that covers disengagement strategies, the appropriate, safe, and effective use of ESI, and documentation procedures. Second, for both physical restraint and seclusion, school staff must use other least restrictive interventions prior to using either of the emergency safety interventions. Changes have also occurred with parental notification requirements. Now, a school must notify parents immediately, and not to exceed 15 minutes after the use of any emergency safety intervention used on the parent's child. Documentation that was previously required to be provided to the LEA ESI committee must also now be shared with the student's parent. The composition and purpose of the LEA ESI committee has changed. Seclusion can now only be used for students in grade 1 or higher. Debriefing is now required after any instance of seclusion for all witnesses, involves staff members, the student who was secluded, and the parent of the student who was secluded. As per 53G-8-301, LEAs are now required to collect certain data and report those same data to the State Board on an annual basis. This data collection and reporting must be done for each incident where an ESI was used. Please note the specific data elements shown on the screen are those required to be collected and reported. Each LEA will be required to collect these data elements for the 2025-2026 school year. Due to the complexity and time it takes to update data systems, the State Board is currently considering the best way for this data to be reported to the USBE. We will send out an update as soon as this decision has been made. Finally, the changes also address violations of 53G-8-301. Confirmed violations require the school authorities take specific actions, and also include referrals to local law enforcement and the Utah Professional Practices Advisory Commission, or UPAC. As this video indicates, there have been a lot of changes to both code and rule related to emergency safety interventions. It is not possible to review all of these changes in a short video, so please ensure you review 53G-8-301 and R277-608 to ensure you understand all the changes that were made. Thank you for all you do to support the students in your schools.